The restaurant went silent when Nora Reed walked past 6 armed guards and placed a sealed envelope in front of Damian Vale. Nobody moved. Nobody even breathed. Damian slowly looked up from the table. Around him sat 4 men who controlled shipping companies, private security firms, and enough political influence to make problems disappear before they became headlines. Nora looked completely out of place among them. No expensive dress, no bodyguard, no nervous apology, just a black coat, a leather folder under one arm, and an expression that suggested she had already calculated every possible way this meeting could end. One of Damian's men reached for her. "Don't," Damian said the word quietly. The man's hand stopped. Damian's eyes remained on Nora. "Who are you?" "Nora Reed." "That doesn't answer my question." "It will." She pushed the envelope slightly closer. "Someone is stealing your empire." A few men at the table exchanged uneasy glances. Damian didn't. He had spent 15 years building an organization that survived police investigations, rival families, corporate wars, and men who thought they could buy his loyalty. He had learned one rule above all others. People who entered his world without fear were usually either very stupid or very dangerous. And you know this because... Nora's expression hardened. "Because they tried to kill me for finding out." The room changed instantly. 2 guards moved behind her. Nora didn't look back. Damian noticed that. Most people became nervous when surrounded. She became quieter. That interested him more than her accusation. "Open the envelope," he said. "No." One of the men at the table laughed. Damian didn't. "You walk into my private meeting," he said, "accuse someone of stealing from me, then refuse to show me the evidence?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because, if you take possession of it, I lose my only protection." Damian leaned back. "You're asking a dangerous man to trust you." "No." For the first time, Nora almost smiled. "I'm asking a dangerous man to protect me without touching what I brought." Silence. Damian studied her face. Then he made a call. Within minutes, his people had investigated everything they could find. Nora Reed, 29, forensic accountant, no criminal record, no known connection to Damian's rivals, no suspicious bank accounts, no sudden wealth, no obvious reason to risk walking into a room where one wrong sentence could end her life. That made her more suspicious, not less. Damian returned his attention to her. "What do you want?" "Protection." "Money?" "No." "A business arrangement?" "No." "Then what?" Nora looked directly into his eyes. "I want 7 days." Damian frowned. 7 days for what? For you to find out who has been moving money through companies you don't know you own. That finally got his attention. He reached for the envelope. Nora placed her hand over it. "One condition." Damian looked at her fingers, then at her face. "You're in no position to make conditions. I know." Her voice remained steady. "That's why I came here." A long pause followed. Then Damian nodded. "Fine. 7 days. You stay under my protection. I don't take the evidence." Nora removed her hand. "Good." Damian opened the envelope. Inside was only one sheet of paper. A transaction, a company name, a bank account, and a transfer worth nearly $12 million. Damian's eyes narrowed. He recognized the company. It was officially owned by one of his organizations. But there was one problem. He had never heard of it. "Where did you get this?" Nora stood. "That is what you're going to find out." Her phone vibrated. She glanced at the screen. For the first time since entering the restaurant, the confidence disappeared from her face. Damian noticed immediately. "What happened?" Nora slowly looked up. "They know I'm with you." Damian's expression turned cold, because on the screen was a single message. "We know where you are." And beneath it was a photograph of Damian's restaurant entrance. taken less than a minute ago. Damian did not ask Nora to explain the message. He simply stood. Every man in the restaurant understood what that meant. Clear the building. His security team moved immediately. Within seconds, the private dining room emptied. Nora remained where she was, staring at the photograph on her phone. Damian stepped beside her. Who sent it? I don't know. You're lying. No. She turned toward him. If I knew who sent it, I wouldn't have walked into your restaurant. Damian studied her for another second. Then he took her phone. Nora immediately reached for it. Don't. Damian looked at her. You said I couldn't touch the evidence. The phone isn't the evidence. Then we're making progress. She rolled her eyes. Do you always enjoy being irritating? Only when people walk into my meetings carrying $12 million problems. Despite herself, Nora almost smiled. Almost. They left through a private entrance and entered a waiting black SUV. Nora sat across from Damian. I have rules. Damian raised an eyebrow. You're giving me rules? You agreed to protect me without controlling me. I agreed to protect you. I don't remember agreeing to be pleasant. I don't need pleasant. Good. I need access to the financial records. No. Nora stared at him. Then we're done. Damian's eyes narrowed. You're threatening to leave? I'm telling you that protection without information is useless. For several seconds, neither moved. Then Damian made another call. Give her access. Nora blinked. That was surprisingly easy. Don't get used to it. The secure facility was hidden beneath one of Damian's legitimate corporate offices. Inside, Nora began working. She didn't ask for money. She didn't ask about weapons. She didn't ask about Damian's personal life. She asked for invoices, acquisition records, shell company structures, offshore transfers, and ownership documents. Hours passed. Damian watched from across the room. You haven't eaten. Nora didn't look up. You haven't stopped staring. I own the building. That doesn't make staring less creepy. For the first time, Damian smiled. It was brief. Almost invisible. Nora noticed anyway. Then her expression changed. Wait. Damian stood. What? She pulled several documents onto the screen. These companies. What about them? They're separate. I know. No. They're pretending to be separate. She connected the records. A shipping company. A private security firm. A property investment group. 3 businesses Damian knew. 1 he didn't. Nora traced the transactions backward. Every company sends money here. Damian leaned closer. Where? To an account controlled by a company called Vale Strategic Holdings. Damian's face hardened. That company doesn't exist. Exactly. Nora opened another document. It exists legally. It has registration documents, tax records, directors, employees. She paused. But nobody in your organization knows about it. Damian stared at the screen. How long? At least 6 years. 6 years. Someone had been moving money through his empire for 6 years without his knowledge. Nora continued. And look at the amounts. Damian watched the numbers appear. Millions. Then tens of millions. The money wasn't disappearing. It was accumulating. Someone was building something. What are they buying? Damian asked. Nora opened another file. Political influence, properties, security contracts, shipping routes. She looked at him. Financial institutions. Damian's jaw tightened. They're building an empire. Under yours. Silence filled the room. Damian walked toward the window. For years, he had believed his organization was under control because every major decision passed through people he trusted. But someone had created an entire second network beneath it, a hidden empire. And Damian hadn't seen it. Nora watched him carefully. There's something else. He turned. She enlarged a transaction. One person authorized several of these transfers. Who? Nora hesitated, then displayed the name. Damian stared at it. No, you know him. I've known him for 15 years. That's not an answer. He wouldn't do this. Nora folded her arms. You're looking for someone who hates you. Damian said nothing. She continued quietly. You should be looking for someone who wants you alive. His eyes shifted toward her. Why? Because if they wanted you dead, you would already be dead. That thought was worse than betrayal. Someone wasn't trying to destroy Damian. Not yet. They were weakening him, keeping him powerful enough to remain useful, but vulnerable enough to control. Nora returned to the computer. I need to find the original transaction. Before Damian could answer, the lights flickered. The screen went black. Then one monitor came back on. A security recording appeared. A man entered a private warehouse. Damian stepped closer. The face was unmistakable. His own. Nora looked at him. Were you there? No. The video showed the man walking through the warehouse. He wore Damian's coat. Moved like Damian. Even the guards opened doors for him. Nora froze the image, then zoomed in. Her voice dropped. Damian? He looked at the screen. The man was wearing Damian's exact watch. The same rare watch Damian had worn every day for years. Damian's expression became completely unreadable. Nora whispered, Someone has been impersonating you. For the first time in 15 years, Damian Vale didn't trust the man standing outside his door. Not because the man had done anything suspicious, because Damian suddenly realized that was exactly the problem. The impersonator had walked through a secure warehouse using Damian's face, Damian's clothing, and Damian's watch. Someone had planned every detail. Nora replayed the recording. Pause. The image froze. She zoomed in on the man's wrist. The watch is real. Damian nodded. I never take it off. Nora looked at him. Then someone got close enough to copy more than your appearance. Damian's expression darkened. Or someone inside my organization gave them access. That possibility changed everything. Within an hour, Damian had ordered a complete security lockdown. Nobody entered or left the building without his approval. Nora watched as his organization shifted into motion. Phones rang. Doors locked. Accounts were frozen. Private security teams were reassigned. No one shouted. No one panicked. That was what frightened Nora most. Damian didn't need chaos to command people. He simply spoke, and an entire machine moved. But Nora noticed something else. Damian kept looking at the security footage. Not at the impersonator, at the warehouse. What's bothering you? She asked. That warehouse doesn't appear on any of my property records. Then someone created another company. Nora pulled up the corporate registry. She searched. Nothing. It's not registered under your organization. Damian walked closer. Search the neighboring properties. Nora did. Her eyes narrowed. Here. A small property company owned the building next door. Its financial records connected to another company. Then another. Nora followed the trail. 5 minutes later, she whispered, They've built a chain. Damian looked at the screen. Where does it lead? To the warehouse. Nora opened the company records. Inside were passports, photographs, bank statements, shipping manifests, and dozens of documents carrying Damian's signature. Damian picked up one of the papers. That signature is mine. You didn't sign it? No. Nora studied the document. The signature isn't the only thing. She pointed to the date. This transaction happened while you were in Boston. I was. Your security records confirm it. Damian's eyes narrowed. So someone had access to my schedule, and your signature, and my identity. Nora looked at the photographs scattered across the table. The conspiracy wasn't simply stealing Damian's money. They were building a second version of Damian, one capable of committing crimes Damian had never committed, a version that could eventually take the blame for everything. Nora's voice became quiet. They don't want you dead. Damian looked at her. They want you discredited. She nodded. If this evidence ever becomes public, nobody will believe you. Damian stared at the documents. For years, he had survived because people feared his power. But fear wouldn't protect him from evidence bearing his own name. Nora noticed his silence. You're thinking about everyone you trust. I am. That's dangerous. Why? Because you're going to start assuming everyone is guilty. Damian looked at her. And you're going to tell me not to? Yes. Why? Because suspicion without proof is exactly what whoever built this wants. Damian studied her. You always this difficult? Only around arrogant men. A faint smile crossed his face. Then I'm honored. For a moment, the tension disappeared. Then Nora found another file. She stopped smiling. Damian. He turned. The file contained old financial records. A company name appeared at the top. Nora's face went pale. She recognized it. Her father's company. The company that had collapsed when she was 19. The collapse that had destroyed her family's finances. The collapse she had spent years believing was caused by her father's reckless decisions. Her hands began to shake. Damian noticed. What is it? Nora couldn't answer. She opened another document, then another. Every transaction led back to the same hidden network. The same network stealing from Damian. The same network creating fake accounts. The same network that had ruined her family years ago. This can't be happening. Damian stepped closer. Nora. She ignored him. A photograph fell from the folder. She picked it up. Her father stood beside a younger man. Nora stared at the second face. Damian recognized him immediately. His trusted right-hand man. The man who had worked beside Damian for 15 years. Nora's breathing became unsteady. You know him. Damian said nothing. I've seen him before. Where? My father's office. She looked at Damian. My father wasn't the one who destroyed my family. Her voice cracked. He was involved with them. Damian reached for the photograph. Nora pulled it back. For the first time, she looked genuinely afraid. Maybe I didn't come here to save you. Damian's eyes remained on hers. Nora swallowed. Maybe I was sent here to destroy you. Damian didn't move. For several seconds, he simply stared at Nora. Then he asked the only question that mattered. Did you know? Nora looked down at the photograph. No. Are you sure? I spent 10 years believing my father destroyed our family. Her voice trembled. I never knew he was connected to your organization. Damian took the photograph from her. His eyes remained fixed on the man standing beside Nora's father. His right-hand man, someone who had been beside him through every major decision, someone who had saved his life twice, someone Damian had trusted without question. That was what made the discovery dangerous. Not the evidence, the trust. Where did you get this? Damian asked. It was in my father's records. And you never saw it before? No. Damian nodded slowly. Nora watched him. You don't believe me. I believe you. She looked surprised. He continued. I don't know if I believe what happened. Nora folded her arms. That sounds like the same thing. No. Damian looked directly at her. There's a difference. He picked up the documents. We find the truth before we decide who betrayed us. They spent the next several hours rebuilding the entire financial network. Nora compared transactions. Damian compared them against private security reports. Together, they discovered something neither had expected. The hidden accounts weren't controlled directly by Damian's right-hand man. They were receiving information from someone much older, someone who had access to Damian's organization before Damian ever became its leader. His father. Damian stared at the records. My father? Nora nodded. Some of these instructions were authorized before you took control. Damian's face became unreadable. My father died 8 years ago. I know. So how is he still involved? He isn't. Nora pointed to the newer transactions. Someone continued his operation after his death. Damian finally understood. The goal had never been simple theft. It was control. Someone had spent years creating a hidden network beneath Damian's organization, a network that could survive without him. Then Nora found the final pattern. The hidden accounts were preparing for one massive transfer, not money. Evidence. Damian leaned over the screen. What are they planning? Nora opened the files. Hundreds of forged documents, fake financial records, fabricated communications, photographs, security footage. Everything had been designed to make Damian appear responsible for crimes he had never committed. Nora whispered, "They're going to expose everything." Damian's jaw tightened. When? Soon. How soon? She checked the transfer schedule. Tonight. Silence. Damian looked at her. You need to leave. Nora shook her head. No. This isn't a request. I know. If they release this evidence, anyone connected to me becomes a target. Then I'll be a target. Nora, you brought me here. I brought you here to protect you. And I'm telling you I'm staying. Damian stared at her. She stepped closer. You spent your whole life believing trust makes you weak. He said nothing. I'm not leaving just because trusting me scares you. His expression changed, only slightly, but Nora saw it. Damian looked away. I'm not afraid of trusting you. She waited. His voice became quieter. I'm afraid of what happens if I lose you. Nora's breath caught. Neither spoke. For the first time, there was no accusation between them. No negotiation. No evidence. Just two people standing in the middle of a conspiracy that had already taken pieces of both their lives. Then every phone in the room began ringing. Damian looked at the screen. News alerts appeared one after another. His companies were being investigated. Financial crimes, money laundering, political corruption, organized crime. Fabricated evidence was already spreading across the internet. Damian's men began calling. Some demanded answers. Others said they were leaving. Then the police arrived outside. Nora looked at Damian. They moved early. Damian watched his empire begin collapsing in real time. For the first time, the man everyone feared looked completely powerless. Then Nora reached inside her coat. Damian stared. She pulled out a thin black folder. I kept something. His eyes narrowed. The original transaction ledger. She placed it on the table. The only document that can prove who created the accounts. Damian looked at her. You never told me you had this. I couldn't. Why? Because if they knew I had it, they'd come for me before we were ready. Damian opened the folder. The original signatures were there. The real transfers. The hidden authorization trail. Everything they needed. Nora looked at him. You told me once that you needed to control everything. Damian slowly closed the folder. Nora's eyes hardened. Tonight, we win by letting them think they control us. Damian looked at her. And for the first time since the conspiracy began, he smiled, because he finally understood. They hadn't lost. They had just given their enemy exactly what he wanted, or what he thought he wanted. By sunrise, Damian Vale had lost almost everything. His accounts were frozen. 3 of his companies were under investigation. 2 longtime allies had disappeared. Half of his organization had stopped answering their phones. And every news channel in the country was calling him a criminal. Damian stood in the quiet conference room, watching his empire collapse across a wall of screens. Nora entered carrying the black folder. The trap is ready. Damian turned. You're sure? She nodded. They believe the ledger is the only evidence we have, and they believe we're desperate. They should. Damian looked at her. What happens now? Nora placed the original ledger on the table. We let them take it. Damian frowned. You want to give them the evidence? Not exactly. She opened the ledger. Hidden between 2 pages was a tiny storage device. The ledger proves where the money came from. This proves who ordered everything. Damian stared at it. You had that the entire time? Nora smiled faintly. You told me not to hide anything from you. I did. I didn't agree. For the first time in days, Damian laughed. It was quiet, almost tired. But real. Nora looked at him. You know, you're much less terrifying when you laugh. Don't tell anyone. Your reputation might survive. Their plan began. The right-hand man took the bait. Within hours, the fabricated evidence was being delivered to the authorities. But Nora had already arranged for the original financial trail to reach investigators through an independent channel. The moment the false documents were examined, inconsistencies appeared. Then the hidden accounts were traced. Then the companies. Then the signatures. One by one, the entire structure began collapsing. Damian's right-hand man tried to disappear. He never made it past the private airfield. His own security team stopped him, not because Damian ordered them to, because they had finally seen the truth. The man who had spent 15 years beside Damian had been building his own empire underneath him. He had used Damian's organization as camouflage. He had forged Damian's signature, impersonated him, manipulated his finances, and prepared to destroy him publicly. But there was one final mystery: Nora's father. The evidence revealed the truth. He hadn't destroyed his family. He had discovered the hidden network years earlier. When he tried to expose it, the people behind the operation destroyed his company and forced him into hiding. Nora stared at the records for a long time. All those years she had believed her father had abandoned them. He hadn't. He had been running from the same people who eventually came after her. For the first time, Nora allowed herself to cry. Damian didn't try to stop her. He simply sat beside her. No advice, no promises. Just stayed. Eventually, Nora whispered, I spent half my life hating him. Damian looked at her. You were given a lie and asked to live with it. She wiped her eyes. What about you? What about me? You lost your empire. Damian looked through the window. My empire was built on control. He paused. Maybe losing part of it is the first honest thing that's happened to me in years. He voluntarily surrendered several businesses connected to his criminal operations. Not because he had been forced, because he finally understood what his obsession with control had cost him. Nora continued her forensic work. Damian rebuilt a smaller, legitimate business network. Their relationship didn't suddenly become perfect. They still argued. She still challenged him. He still hated when she ignored his advice. But neither of them pretended they didn't care anymore. One evening, months later, Damian found Nora standing outside his office. Do you still think I'm dangerous? He asked. She looked at him. Absolutely. Damian raised an eyebrow. Nora smiled. But now I know you're dangerous to the right people. He laughed. Then his expression softened. What happens to us? Nora studied him. You tell me. Damian stepped closer. I want a life where I don't have to wonder whether you'll disappear tomorrow. Nora smiled. Then stop giving me reasons to. He reached for her hand. This time she didn't pull away. Damian Vale had once believed power meant making sure nobody could ever betray him. Then Nora Reed walked into his world carrying the one thing he couldn't buy: the truth. She didn't save his empire. She taught him he didn't need to keep every piece of it. Because sometimes losing control is not the end of your story. Sometimes it is the first moment you finally become free.